You're listening to the Player Issue Podcast. Here's your host, Aaron Warwick.
Hello, and welcome to episode 28 of the Player Issue Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Warwick. Glad to have you all back with me this lovely evening. It is 11:13 p.m. on a Saturday night. Just got done watching both of the footy games today. Obviously the qualifying final and the elimination final. One good game and one not so good game, sadly, for you Brisbane supporters out there. Josh is very upset, no doubt. But yeah, it's been a really good day. And here I am at 11:13 p.m. trying to get this open done, and I'll quickly do a close as well. Because we're trying to get this episode out tonight, because I did promise that I would have it out. So I'm going to be rushing through a little bit, and we're not going to muck around too much till we get into the interview, as we do have one, of course, lined up for another hour-long interview, which is a lovely good chat with another good mate who I have been hoping to get on for a while now, and he's a good dude. So, really enjoyed that one, so I don't want to hold you up for too long, which we will not. So we'll get into it. So we'll quickly just cover off something before we get to the interview. So the reason I'm trying to get it out tonight is I did actually promise to get it out tonight because a couple of blokes bought me a coffee. And if you don't remember what that was, so I've mentioned previously that we have had some requests for some donations or how we can support the podcast. So we created a donation page for that, which is called Coffee. So you can buy me a coffee. You can choose however much you would like to donate to the podcast, essentially, and just show your appreciation and your support for the show. And every dollar that you do donate, if you do, then we really do appreciate. And of course, when you do so, I will read you out on here as well. So last show we did, which was with Heath, of course we shouted out Dave Causey and Reese Mitchell for donating a coffee to us. And this one, we had a couple of interviews. We had a couple of donations this morning, a couple of coffees bought for me. One from Mick Rush. He's actually an ex-guest on the show, if you don't remember. Has a tremendous Brisbane Bears and Lions collection. And the other one was bought for us by Ben Simpson, who is a huge Talent Demand fan. I believe he actually went to school with Talent Demand. So he's also an absolute legend, another State League collector, which you'll hear a little bit about when we get into the interview with James here today. So, yeah, not going to hold you up too much. Like I said, trying to get it out before midnight because I did promise, because you guys did donate to the show, that I'll have it out tonight. So you can all have a good listen to it tomorrow. The good news is I actually have 2 episodes in the bag. So we've got this one here now, obviously. Second one we'll have out next week for you. Just going to finish off that one and we'll get up. Stupidly, I actually didn't finish off that episode. I kind of just forgot what I was going to ask and we just stopped. And actually forgot the most important question that I wanted to ask him, all because it was a very impromptu interview, I'll be perfectly honest. We decided to do it when he was on his way over, so I was writing the questions down, and he came over, and as he rocked up, I thought, I won't need to write this last question because I remember exactly what I'm going to ask, and then we got into it and completely forgot to actually ask the question, so stupid me. So that was done in studio. So yeah, actually the first interview we've done in the new studio, one-on-one. So obviously sound quality will be fantastic. Well, I hope it is. I actually haven't listened back to it yet, so we'll have to do that shortly. But we'll have to get him on Zoom, actually, and we'll just record the last question. So we'll finish that one off, and then we'll get it up early or mid next week. So it won't be too far away for the next episode. So we'll get into the interview now. So like I mentioned before, if you do want to donate to the show or just show your appreciation for the show, jump on to the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page, and we do have pinned to the top there is the link to the coffee, so buying us a coffee, and we do appreciate everyone who does buy us a coffee. So yeah, of course, if you do donate to the show, we will shout you out on here as well. So thank you again to Mick Rush and Ben Simpson, you two legends, and because of you guys, we're getting this one up nice and early for you. So let's get into it, shall we? I've got to edit this podcast as quick as I possibly can and get it up for all your listening pleasure. So let's get into the interview. Here it is with James Earl. James, how are we, mate?
Good, Aaron. Good. Thank you very much for having me on.
I'm excited. And just before we get going, let's start this in the proper way, shall we?
What do we got here?
The missus loves this song.
Good. Love a good song.
we're behind and never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger, yellow and black, we're from Tigerland.
I don't think there's any other song in the country that can get an entire crowd going, no matter who they support, I think.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Like, as biased as I am as a massive Richmond fan, yeah, you do see it under comments. It seems to be a fairly unanimous opinion that the Richmond song is one of, if not the best in the league. So
yeah. Well,
very, very happy with it. Wouldn't change it for the world.
No, I wouldn't either. Actually, Emma, when we were watching the 2017 grand final together, she was like, I really hope Richmond win. And I said, because they haven't won in a long time. She's like, no, I just really want to hear the song. It's like, fair enough. Why not? So, yeah, it goes real well, and it certainly pumps out the yellow and black. Sure.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it what?
All right, James. So for those of the listeners out there who don't know who you are, tell us, who are you and where are you from and who do you support?
Right. Yeah. So I'm James. I am a diehard Richmond supporter. I've supported them all my life. I'm from Bendigo originally, and that's where I am right now, thanks to COVID taking over Victoria once again. But I most of the time I live and study in Melbourne. But back in the regions for the moment.
Right. So I had this discussion with Heath in the last episode. I don't know if you've listened to that yet or not.
I have indeed, yes.
So I asked him the question of how Melbourneites come up with who it is that they support. Now, how is it you come to support Richmond? Because I'll be honest, I don't know where Bendigo is, but I don't believe it's anywhere near Richmond, if I'm thinking right.
No. But Bendigo, it's about 2 hours away from Melbourne, about an hour and 50 minutes on the train.
Yep.
But yeah, so how I came to support Richmond was it goes back to my dad's father. He went to school with an old Richmond VFL player by the name of Ron Branton, and so that's how Dad's father started supporting, and then so of course that carried on to my dad, and that's been passed on to me, and it's just carried on through the family.
Fair enough. So, I mean, I do find that most of the time it is generally the family that dictates who we support, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. I'll be honest, it wasn't really who dictated mine. It was simply I like the fact that I like to support the underdogs. So that's how I started following Freo. I guess Mum was from Fremantle, so that helped a little bit, but purple being my favourite colour and being the underdogs, it was just an easy choice. But being a 9-year-old, it was, I guess, the thing you did. I mean, if I did that now, if we had a new team here in Freo or in WA and it was from my suburb, there's no way in hell I'd be able to change from Freo. So, yeah.
No, definitely not.
Even if they become much better than Freo. It's 27 years, we've done nothing, but it is what it is. But no, always interesting to hear why people support the team they do. So, yeah,
definitely.
So, have you been from Bendigo the whole time? Did you mention that? Sorry, were you born and raised in Bendigo?
Yeah. So, pretty much. I went almost right through school in Bendigo, and then I did the last 2 years in Melbourne, and then that's from then on. That's where I've spent most of my time. With University of Melbourne as well. So I don't get back to Bendigo too much. Right. I was here all of last year thanks to COVID.
Is Bendigo closer to Geelong than it is to Melbourne or Richmond?
I think it's actually a bit closer to Melbourne than it is to Geelong.
Oh, right, okay.
Not by a lot, but yeah, enough.
Clearly, I don't know my geographical.
I don't know. I don't know WA geography either. So,
yeah, fair enough. You'd think I would, but no, sorry. If I'm around the innards of Melbourne, I can sort of tell you where I'm going, but get outside of St Kilda, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
All right, so James, before we get too far into it, tell everyone where we can find you and follow you on social media.
Right, yes. So I've got two Instagram pages.
Oh.
One's for my AFL jumpers, and that one is Earl's _footy_jumpers. And the other, which is for my State League collection, is Earl's _State League_collection.
A lot of underscores.
Yeah.
Gotta hate Instagram because you can't really make a name without having underscores or something. It's bloody annoying.
No, it is. Hey, you've got to come up with a username, and then you actually got to have the name of your page as well. It's too much. Make it simpler.
I was having a little bit of a look at your Instagram today before we came on. I've noticed some of your photos. They look very familiar in your design. Now, I wonder where that came from. Was it something, did you all the inspiration from somewhere, or did you just come up with that all by yourself?
Yeah, good question. No, I do use Photo Room like yourself. Before I even knew about Photo Room, I was just putting them into Instagram layouts and whacking them in Photoshop Express with a bit of text and a border. And yeah, there's just something about the backgrounds that you can get on Photo Room. I think it looks so professional, and it just looks nice. So I saw that, and I've seen there's a few other collectors with pages that also use it. So it's caught on a bit.
It has, yeah. You're not wrong. It's funny that's another thing that you don't really think about, but I've been through so many different ways of photographing my jumpers. I couldn't tell you how many. But yeah, coming to Photo Room is probably, like I say, it's probably the best one. It's sort of something that you would have to pay for in previous lifetimes, where all the other ones I've used, I've had to pay to get even slightly better than what I've had. But Photo Room just seemed to have this option which gives you these really good backgrounds, and the background removal on it is amazingly good.
It's pretty good, eh? I mean, for a free app, it's pretty good. Can't complain about it at all.
No, and so it's pretty simple because I think to get rid of the adverts, it costs you a fair bit of money as well. So, or just the watermark. So I just make sure my jumpers are a bit higher, and then I'll just cut the bottom off.
Yeah, smart.
It's free. No. Okay. So yeah, we'll move past the nitty gritty stuff that no one really gives a shit about. But that's the thing that you need to think about when you're thinking about your jumpers is how am I going to photograph them and how am I going to put them up? Because one thing I noticed, a lot of older collectors, they'll collect in the background a little bit more, where they'll collect the jumpers and they won't take photos of them. And they'll, in the end, now they're thinking, oh shit, I've got 60, 70 jumps. I haven't taken one photo. They're going back and they're thinking about it now. So think about it. Yeah. New collectors, make sure you know how you're going to photograph and how you're going to stick them up, because that's a very important thing in this new hobby.
and do it as soon as you get them.
Yes.
There's nothing worse than having a whole swag of jumpers and you just got to take photo after photo.
Yep. My back is stuffed, and I blame it all on taking photos on the floor. I blame it on the 2020 sale, actually, having 50 jumpers to photograph in one night. That sucked.
Oh, jeez. That would be hell. cannot even imagine photographing 50 jumpers, let alone the 20 odd that I've got.
It's painful. All right. So, James, what was the first jumper you ever got, and can you remember what you paid for it?
Yeah. A bit of a funny story, that, actually. So the first player issue jumper that I got that I knew was a player issue, it was a 2011 Dean McDonald Cougar Richmond jumper. And I just happened to be in the Richmond store one day just perusing. I had a bit of spare time. And I saw this older jumper, and I was, geez. This was at the start of last year, actually. So, the jumper was 9 years old, and I'm thinking, what's that doing there? Didn't have a price tag on it or anything, and I saw there's numbers on the back. I saw on the bottom a player edition. That's pretty cool. And I didn't really understand exactly what I had in my hands, and I asked the person there, oh, how much is this? And they didn't know. They said $50, and I was like, And I came back the next week, and it was still there. So I thought, all right, I'm going to jump on this. So that's the first one that I bought that I knew was a player issue. But the very, very first jumper that I got was actually a Bendigo Gold VFL jumper. And I did played the last post for one of their Anzac Day games. It would have been in 2012, I think. And they gave me a jumper just as a thank you. I thought, oh, that's cool. Number on the back, nice. Did not have any clue that it was anything other than a
did you say you photographed the game, or what did you say you did?
I played the last post.
Oh, you did? Gotcha. Sorry, yep. Gotcha.
The jumper was a thank you. And when I started getting into this hobby a bit more, I realised, hang on a second, that's actually a player issue jumper. Over time I've gone back and tried to find out what the player was, but there was never. It's number 51, but there was never a player assigned to that number, so I think it was just a spare. But I mean, those jumpers don't come up very often, so happy to have it.
Yeah, and going back to the 2011 Tigers jumper in 2020, how weird is that?
Yeah, I was really surprised. Because normally you'll see things a few years old that just don't sell, but 9 years old, I was really surprised to see it to see it there. Yeah.
Don't suppose you asked if they had any more, or did they sell them all already, or that was just a random one?
I reckon it might have just been a random one. I've never seen anything as old as that, or any player issue jumper just sitting in the store ever since. And I've been there a few times.
It's pretty weird.
Really, really random.
Yeah, pretty weird. I mean, I know they did have a garage sale. They called it a garage sale back in 2016. So I'm assuming it's probably left over from them. But even still, to be 4 years later to come out is really interesting. Odd, hey? Very weird, but very cool. Yeah. Very cool indeed. I'd love to just see that every now and then when you just walk into and just see some old jumpers. And you wouldn't balk at it $50 again, would you?
Oh, no way. It's probably... Yeah, definitely the cheapest jumper I've bought, in terms of value.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what do you do for work, James?
I do a bit of trumpet teaching. I'm still studying at the moment. I study Bachelor of Music with Honours in Melbourne, so that takes up a fair bit of time. But got a bit of teaching on the side to get a bit of extra money.
Bachelor of Music with Honours, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Good Lord, that sounds tremendous.
Yeah. I finished, I completed the 3 years of undergraduate last year, and then this year is honours, so it's just an extra year with a more intense workload.
Right. So you're a teacher of the trumpet, and you've played the last post, so clearly you're in an orchestra, is that right?
Yeah, played in a few in the orchestra at university, but we haven't done more in that than last year. But played in a few different orchestras. Lots of fun. Love it.
When did that start? When did you start playing in an orchestra?
Oh, I think the first orchestra that I played in would have been in year 7, 2011, I reckon. That was just the orchestra at school. Then I started playing in the local community orchestra the following year, and it's just sort of gone from there. Played in a few other different orchestras tied to different organisations. So
did you just play the trumpet?
That's what I study. I used to play a bit of piano, but I still do a little bit these days. But I play pipe organ more than I do piano. That's a bit of an extra side hustle to get a little bit of extra money every now and then.
Multi-talented musical man, love it.
I try.
How far has it taken you? How far have you gone with the music side of it?
So I've got as far as the Australian Youth Orchestra National Music Camp on 2 occasions, and currently, as we speak, preparing for the 2022 programs for that one. So that's as far as I've got so far. Hoping to get professional one day.
Yeah. So what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with your musical attributes?
Yeah, I just want to play in orchestras, somewhere, anywhere, wherever music takes me. I'll be happy to go.
Awesome. Very cool, man. I can guarantee this is the very first time I've ever had someone who has any musical talent on here.
Hopefully, it won't be the last. I'm sure. There's. In fact, I know there are other musos that collect jumpers because there's one of my mates at uni. He's got a few Geelong player issues at the moment.
Okay, cool. What motivated you to start collecting player issue footy jumpers?
I think before I knew what a player issue jumper was, I'd seen some on eBay. I didn't know what to call them. I'd just seen them pop up every now and then. I thought, oh, geez, they're pretty cool. But there were never any Richmond ones there. It was always Freo and Sydney ones, I think. And yeah, so when I bought this Dean McDonald jumper, I came across the football jumper group, just not the PI one, just the general footy jumper group.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I bought the Brett Delidio 2016 preseason jumper that I've got.
Mm-hmm.
Still got that. And then from there, I found the player issue group, and it's just sort of ballooned from there. And I think the thing for me about it is it's a privilege to be able to own pieces of history of the game that most people don't own. And I don't necessarily chase big players. It's like designs or anything. I just like to have it. It's a privilege to be able to own those pieces. So I think yeah, that's what originally motivated me, and it still motivates me now to an extent.
I think a lot of people actually lose sight of that as well. It's just grab whatever they see and then just try and make as much money out of it as they can. Like they don't get the feeling that we get, I suppose, when we get these jumpers, and the privilege that we feel to own it. And I know there's a couple on the line for me at the moment, which I'm trying to get my hands on, which to me would mean the absolute world. And to some people, that probably wouldn't think it would be worth all that much, but to me, it would probably be the pinnacle of my collection. So yeah, I totally understand what you mean by the privilege to own something like the particular player who the jumper comes from, who could quite clearly just keep it, but he's considering giving it to me. That's a huge privilege. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally get where you're coming from with that one for sure. Are you at home now? So do you live at home at the moment?
Yeah, I'm at my parents' place in Bendigo right now as we speak.
What do they feel about your collecting? I mean, I know it's not like crazy out of control at the moment, but I mean, I can see all your stuff around the room. Looks pretty cool. What are their thoughts on your room at the moment?
I think Mum was a little bit more, do you really need to spend money on these at first? I don't think Dad was too fussed, but like now I'll show them the jumpers when I see them, any new pickups I get, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool. So like they can see what I get out of it, and like they can see the why I've got that passion, I think.
It's funny actually when I think back on. Sorry, I've just had bloody Adam Chera request. It's been hurting me all day. Adam Chera request trade back to Victoria just popped up on my screen. That's just rolled me up a little bit, but we'll move past that. I think back to when I first started collecting. I was living at home, and I'd have my jumpers locked away in the cupboard, and I'd have the same sort of thoughts or feelings from my parents. Dad just, why are you even doing this? Mum was just, why are you spending so much money? But she didn't really care so much, and she understood. I could be doing things a lot worse, like doing drugs and things. But I think now, it's, how long is it now? 7 or 8 years later, and she's tagging me in jumpers on Facebook.
Oh, that's so good.
I mean, often it's just a retail signed or just it's nothing special at all, but it's just hilarious that she's now bought into it, and she's like, oh, look at this one. It's just funny. And she actually wants to come along to the sales now, and it's
that's awesome.
It's hilarious. She's 66 years old, so it will be quite entertaining to see her at one of the sales. But yeah, I mean, I think parents or the older generation probably start understanding a little bit more if they actually listen to what it's all about and what the feeling we get out of it. And it's a hobby after all, but It's a very good investment at times as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, if you invest in the right pieces, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. How many jumpers do you have in your collection right now? Are they all on that rack behind you?
Yeah, they are. I counted the other day. I think at the moment I've got 21. I've had as many as 25, but all up along the journey I've had 40.
Right, okay, yep.
Yeah, so
including ones you don't have right now, you've had 40 in total?
Yeah, 40 in total, yeah.
Right. Jesus, I would not want to count how many I've had over the whole journey.
Oh, jeez, yeah, I wouldn't either.
I think it's got to be close to 600, I reckon, at least. Yeah,
oh, gee.
Has to be. I'm at 330 at the moment, and yeah, I've gone through another 300, I think, at that point. So, yeah.
Jeez.
Crikey, it's been a bit.
Yeah, that's just a few.
Yeah, just a couple. And you only started collecting in 2020, is that right?
Yeah, it was not long before COVID properly hit last year. So
Right.
it's been about 15 or so months.
Terrible time to start collecting.
Oh, I know. It's shocking. Shocking time.
I think it was maybe 3 years ago, or probably, 2016, I reckon. So, it's 5 years ago now. Just before they won the premiership, there was a ton of Richmond jumpers on the market, and you'd be looking, $40 to $100 tops for the Tigers jumpers. I mean, I've picked up bloody Jack Rewalt's for $150. I picked up Dusty Martin for $200, I think. So it's real quick how quick that exploded. There was a lady who actually had probably 50 Tigers jumpers, and she was selling them all for $40. She couldn't get rid of them at times, and
it's crazy.
They're all from about 2010, I think. But yeah, she just couldn't get rid of them, and it's amazing how quick that turns. As soon as they win a premiership, look out.
Just goes like that. And I've looked back at some of the past.
I can tell you right now that is the absolute worst thing to do.
It pains me.
Yep.
Especially the Puma jumpers. Like Puma's going for $150, $200, and these days you'd be lucky to get one for $350.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes, I try my very best never to look back. Not a good idea looking back on the past.
No.
All right, so talk to me about your VFL collection. I honestly have no idea really about the VFL, to be perfectly honest. But those of us who are listening out there, share with us a little bit about what you have and tell us why you collect VFL jumpers.
Yeah, great. So what I've got at the moment. So I mentioned the Bendigo Gold jumper earlier. I think that's probably the piece of the VFL collection. Reason being is they weren't in the VFL for very long, only 3 years, I think. And the jumpers, they don't pop up very often, whereas with the Bendigo Bombers, you might see one pop up every few months. So I've got a Bendigo Bombers jumper as well. And I've got a couple of heritage jumpers from Williamstown and Coburg, both from 2019, and one Williamstown heritage from this year. What else have I got? Trying to think. Mine's gone blank now.
I get that.
Hang on. I'll look through all the photos. I've got all the photos.
While you look for that, do you when you're looking for VFL jumpers, do you tend to look for players, or you just don't care? It's just design.
No, because with the players, it's probably going to be harder to find. It's not like AFL, or not as much like AFL, where players will stick around for a number of years. Some players are there for 2 years, 1 year before they go off to somewhere else. All right, so other things I've got. Got a Essendon Indigenous, Frankston home jumper, and I've got a Sandringham spare, no number, Sammy Lloyd Footscray jumper as well. That's one of my favourites. And another highlight of that collection is a North Ballarat home match-worn jumper, Andrew Hooper, who played AFL for a couple of years, didn't play very many games. So there's a few good jumpers there. But yeah, to answer your question, what I look for, I think the design is definitely one, and also extinct clubs, because there are a few. North Ballarat being one, and the two Bendigo jumpers. Those are pretty cool to get for me, because the jumpers don't come up very often, and it's a piece of VFL history that it's not continuously being renewed.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a long-winded response, but hopefully that answers.
Do you support a VFL team, or do you support one of the Bendigo teams?
Richmond? No, I don't really. I'll go along to the Richmond VFL games when I can, if it's curtain raiser before the seniors. But not really. Yeah,
I'm the same with Waffle. I don't know a whole lot about the Waffle either, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I supported South Fremantle a little bit when I was a kid, but just because Mum supported South Freo. But I honestly didn't go to very many games at all, maybe 2.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously when Freo started going in line with Peel, I've grabbed a couple of their jumpers, but don't tend to support any team. So, yeah, it was interesting to hear. I see a lot of the VFL jumpers put up on those pages. So, I feel like the VFL may be followed a little bit more over in Melbourne than the Waffle is here. Like, I think the Waffle teams are followed purely by Waffle supporters rather than AFL Waffle supporters. Like, it's not really a mix. Generally, they've been following the Waffle since the 70s and 80s. And they'll follow them to the death rather than follow an AFL team as much. Whereas I think VFL seems to be followed more closely between AFL and VFL teams.
Yeah. You do see with the standalone clubs like Port Melbourne, Williamstown, Coburg, some of those teams that don't have AFL alignments at all, they do have a pretty strong supporter base. I remember going to the 2017 VFL Grand Final between Richmond and Port Melbourne, and they had a bay chock full of supporters, and they were making some noise. So I don't know if those guys would support an AFL team as well, but yeah, there certainly are some hardcore VFL supporters for the standalone clubs.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I probably should do some more research on smaller clubs outside of WA, but I don't have time. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Anyway, so before we move on to the next question, we were actually supposed to record a week ago, and it's usually not my fault that things get done late, but this time I had to put us off because I bit my tongue. Now, this is the stupidest thing you've ever heard. I can't record our interview because I've bitten my tongue. Like, is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard?
It's unique.
Being a music man, surely you've done it a couple of times, right?
I've bit my tongue, but not to the point that I haven't been able to use it when playing trumpet. No.
Yeah, it's been a week? Yeah, a week and 1 day, and it still hurts. It's only just.
You must have done a good job on it.
I did a real good. I bit it 3 times in succession, and I ended up with a massive lump. It was bloody everywhere. It wasn't good. It was real painful.
If you're gonna do it properly.
It sucked. I couldn't drink and eat for a week, and it wasn't much fun at all. So that's one of the silliest things I've ever heard, and it was from me, sadly. So sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Bit of a side note there, but we'll get back on track here. So the Tigers, your support team, have had some tremendous success over the last handful of years. Do you have a preference? Would you rather collect jumpers from these last few years of success, or is there a particular era that you would prefer, or is it just not something you worry about at this point?
Good question. I think, as a collector, you definitely want to have jumpers from periods of success, no doubt, because they're worth more for starters. So if you do have to move them on, then you can get a bit more for them, or if you're trading, then get a higher value piece. But I think certainly for Tiger fans, manufacturer comes into it as well. I remember you talking about this when you had Josh Wade on the podcast last year. The Puma jumpers, my gosh. I know you're a big fan of ISC, and I like the ISC material as well. But I think Puma, it's just that next step above.
Hang on, I think you're trying to tell me that I've said ISC's number one, right? Have I said that?
Maybe you haven't, but I know you hold ISC in very high regard.
I do. However, I don't know if I can remember saying it or not, but
I don't think you have.
I've had West Coast Puma jumpers, and they're absolutely incredible quality.
Yeah.
I think only from 14 to 16, 14 to 17, I think from memory. Unbelievable quality. I would put them as the number one manufactured or player issue jumper I've actually felt. Now, I haven't held a new Tigers jumper, sadly, from 2017 onwards. Would love to get my hands on one because they do look absolutely gorgeous. So I am on the market for one. If anyone wants to sell me one, I'd just love to have a look and get a feel of it, especially if you want to change, I guess, my mindset, apparently, of my jumper choice being ISC. I do love ISC. I'm not going to lie about that. I would, however, put ISC as probably my number 2 overall in total. With Puma just nudging him out. So, yes, you are correct, and you may continue.
Puma is just it's elite. Everything from the feel of the material to the GPS pocket I just like the look of the GPS pocket not hanging off the collar. It's just something about that for me. So I think manufacturer comes into it as well, and it just so happens that we've had Puma since 2017 when we started having the good years, the good years,
the non-ninth finishing spots, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, I've just remembered I actually have a 2020 State of Origin Puma jumper right behind me.
Yeah.
Have you held one?
Not a State of Origin, but I have got a 2021 Anzac player issue. So to be all the same material, better colours.
It is quite nice. It is quite nice. So yeah, I'm not sure. I reckon that is there a bit of difference between the earlier Tiger Puma, so like 2017, to what it is now?
I think there is actually. I think I don't know. I guess the sheen, maybe it is. It's just a little bit different to 2017 to 2019. Same quality of material, same type of material. Yeah, I think the sheen is just that little bit different.
Yeah, just from memory, when I had those Eagles jumpers, which are friggin' amazing quality, to this one now, just it feels like I guess maybe a little bit more matte of a feel. I'm not too sure what I'm looking for there, but a little bit more rough, matty type feel. So.
Yeah,
still really nice. But yeah, I'm not sure I would put that over an ISC one. That one actually. So digging a grave here.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your end goal for your collection? Is there a point you think you can get to where you'd be content with your collection, or do you not see that ever concluding? We'll just continue on.
I'd say there is and there isn't. I think if I was to finish collecting now, I'd be very content because I've collected jumpers from the VFL, and there's some great jumpers that I've got there. Collected jumpers from Richmond, and likewise I got some fantastic jumpers there from some great players. So I think, if I didn't buy a single jumper ever again, I would be content. But yeah, on the flip side, I don't think there will be because there's not really a point at which my collection will be complete. Because there'll always be something new to add as the years go on.
I do see a lot of card collectors and things like that getting out of hobbies. I really don't see jumper collectors getting out of the hobby too much, to be honest. I think I've seen Monty Monty from Port Adelaide's retired about 3 times, but he's always made his way back. So shout out to Monty. I don't see it. I don't see the jumper collectors just getting out of the hobby too much. I mean, maybe some of the older blokes who it's got a little bit more expensive might have now. Some of us who have moved on to kids and wife and wedding and all that, maybe. I will not. I will continue. So sorry, Emma, but but it has slown a little bit. So slown? That's not even a word. It has
Slow down.
What's his name? Sloan. What's his name?
Rory Sloan.
Rory Sloan. It has Rory slowed down a little bit. It's slowed down for sure, but definitely won't be stopping anytime soon. But yeah, this is one of those interesting things. I have seen lots of card collectors in the last couple of years where things are getting a little bit too out of control. They said, I'm done. I've actually done it myself. So I really don't collect cards anymore. I certainly don't buy the packs and things anymore because it's just mental. But yeah, I just don't see it with jumper collectors. Which
I don't think it's. I mean, I might be speaking very broadly here, but I don't think it's something that most of us can get sick of, because there's always new designs every single year, whether it be new manufacturers, templates, or indigenous designs, or any other sort of designs. There's always something new.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Also, I mean, I think my habits of the way I collect as well, when you get new rookies in and they're good players, you're not necessarily going for those other players you've already got heaps of. You're then going for those rookies. So that's never going to end. So, yeah, good point. Yeah. Okay, so what is your thoughts? I've got, as you can see, my lovely Ben Cousins match-worn 2010
beautiful
Tigers jumper right next to me. What are your thoughts on Ben Cousins Tiger jumpers? Now, I know as neutrals like myself, it's pretty high up there on the list of collectible items. However, for an actual Tigers man, how collectible is his jumpers to a Tigers collector? Say, when you're comparing it to a Dusty or a Jack Rewalt, all those top-notch players that you guys have had for a long period of time, and you had Ben Cousins for 2 years coming off a fantastic career at West Coast. Perhaps not a great finish to his career, but yeah, what are your thoughts on Ben Cousins jumpers?
Never actually given it much thought, to be honest.
I hadn't either until 5 minutes before I jumped on here.
For me personally, I wouldn't put it in the same league as Dusty, Rewalt, Koch, those guys. Even though Cousins has got a Brownlow and a premiership and all of the other accolades that he was awarded during his career, wouldn't be far away, I don't think. But yeah, because it was only 2 years, there's the factor of, well, there's not very many of them out there, and so of course that plays a part in how valuable they are. So I don't think that they're unvaluable. They're really valuable, but wouldn't put them quite in the same league as our triple premiership stars.
Fair enough. It's good to know, actually, because I've never really thought of that from a Richmond collector's eyes. So
other collectors might have different opinions, but yeah, that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, and I'll definitely ask those other guys as well when I get a chance to as well. I do know of a couple others, and at least one other Tigers man who has a Ben Cousins Richmond jumper. So I'll ask him his thoughts as well, what he reckons in comparison. So yeah, good little topic, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your thoughts on the recent Matthew Richardson debut? I'm going to quotation mark this debut game worn jumper that was auctioned through official memorabilia.
That one. Yeah, wow. I've seen the screenshots of the back of his jumper from that match, and at least going off those, not the same jumper.
See, the thing, sorry, jump in here. The thing with it was when I put up those photos, just purely going off being a collector, the thing with those, even if you have a COA or don't have a COA, the best way of proving that something is what it is photo matching, because you can't really deny when something is a complete match to a photo of a game of that particular jumper. So myself as a collector, that's what I look at. And I did receive correspondence from Official Memorabilia that Richo has confirmed 100%, he reckons, that it is definitely the jumper that he wore on his debut game. It's tough for me to, I don't know, believe it is the right word. Like it's hard to say, well, Richo, you're wrong, because it's his jumper.
Yeah.
So fair chance he's telling the truth. But I just don't understand why they would have unpicked the numbers and then reattached. I mean, obviously they could have come and done whatever. But for myself, even if it is the correct jumper, and at this point I am believing that it is, purely because Richo said it's the right one, and he only had one that year, so fair call to him, no problem. I'll believe it that it's correct. But as myself being a collector, if I was to purchase that, I can't remember how much it went for. If it went for quite a lot from memory. Didn't end up making reserve, by the way, so they didn't end up selling it. Yeah. I wouldn't pay the dollars that they're asking purely because, if my dad comes up and he sees that and goes, that's not that jumper on that game that you're showing me.
Yeah.
Like, how are you supposed to, but he said it is. Like, I just don't like that. Like, I want to go, yep, see, there it is on that picture on the wall there. Oh, yeah, I can see that. Cool, that's really cool. For me, myself, I just wouldn't do it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've got to agree. I mean, I would never spend that much money on a jumper anyway. But in principle, you do want to have that visible proof that this is that jumper. And I've got a Reece Conker jumper that the bloke I bought it from said, I think it might have been match worn. I was like, yeah, because it's got some spots on it. So I trawled through the photos, and I was able to photo match it. But then my 2017 Jason Castagna, the COA from the official AFLPA COA says that it's player issued, but it's very clearly been worn. There's loose stitches, it's stretched, but I can't pass it off as match worn because one, I can't photo match it, and two, the COA says it's player issue, not match worn. So I think photo matching is absolutely the best way to prove that a piece has been worn.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's been done in the States a lot more than it has over here. I think recently it's started to take off a little bit more because I think a lot of the States collectors or NBA jersey collectors are doing the same here. And they're showing that, you can prove with the COAs that quite often not correct, that you can still prove the jumper is worn by those photo matching, which can take time. And unfortunately, we don't have, I guess, as many photographers in our countries where they're getting out to these sporting events and they're getting these real close-up, high-quality photos. It's more the wide-angle lens photos are taking, so it's really hard to photo match at times.
Yeah.
But when you can, God, it's a really good feeling to be able to do that.
Oh, absolutely. One of the other Tiger collectors, he got Nick Floss in 2017 jumper from the big auction that they had. Must have been September last year, I think. Was advertised as a player issue, but he was able to photo match it to the qualifying final from one loose stitch.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. When I saw that, I was like, geez, top effort by you, mate.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to do the same thing actually with a couple of jumpers where, obviously Fife being the captain, and when they take the photo of coming out the tunnel, he's always the one leading at the front. So there's been a couple of those exact things where I've noticed a loose stitch sticking straight up from his shoulder and been able to notice that, and that's awesome, easy way of photo matching. But
it's pretty cool, hey?
It is. It's not always that easy to do, especially with your players that aren't photographed as much as your higher-ended players.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
It's frustrating when you can't, but plenty of game footage out there of the recent games that you can try. But definitely the best way to do it. And for me, I'm much more willing to pay bigger dollars for stuff that I can prove through photo or vision that it is actually what it is. So I paid $770 for a Luke Ryan ripped jumper this year, which for you Tigers fans, that's probably quite low, but for recent Freo auctions, it's on the higher end. But I was more than happy to do it because it was real easy to photo match, and there's video footage of it just being torn, and now it's in my collection, so I'm stoked with it.
Yeah.
So
Gotta
yeah,
love a jumper as well.
I've got a few
I'd love
now.
one of those one day.
I do have a few now, and picked up another Andy Brayshaw one on the weekend, and I didn't even know it
Beautiful.
was ripped. So, a funny story with that one actually. I got asked if I was interested in the jumper because the person who won the auction, they said that they didn't want the ripped jumper.
Oh.
So they won the auction for would have been about $1,000, and they said they emailed the club and said, "Oh, please don't send me the ripped one. I would like one that's not ripped, just in good condition." So they were like, "Well, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard," because it's easy to prove that it's a match worn. But yeah, sure. So they waited for the next game against the Hawks where they wore Indigenous again, and they gave them that one. So I had scored this match worn rip jumper. I didn't even know it was ripped at the time. I actually had to watch some footage the other night, and I spotted it. I was like, "Oh, beauty!" So it's a good score for me.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
so some people don't like the ripped jumpers, is like what I'm getting at, but I don't know why. So you store your jumpers on a coat hanger rack, is that correct? Or sorry, coat hanger rack,
do.
just a clothes rack.
Got a beautiful rack sitting here, so I can view them very easily and take them out to admire them.
Yes, I've definitely been doing that for a long time now. Moved into the lockers now, but all on racks so you can take them out and enjoy. Are you going to have to upgrade anytime soon?
No, not at the moment. They all fit on there, plus the handful of retails that I got very comfortably. So not anytime soon yet.
Do you have any framed or any signed jumpers?
The only frame jumper we've got is 2007 team signed jumper, which we won from some IGA competition. That's the only thing. But yeah, I've seen this one discussed before, and I would never ever get a player issue jumper framed because I just like to hold them.
Yep.
Just like to hold them, get up right close, feel them, stretch them.
Yep. You're a true collector.
I could never ever frame them.
Fair enough. That's good. So when you say you've only got the one jumper signed, is that all your player issues aren't signed either?
Sorry, no, that's the framed one is team
sorry,
signed,
yeah.
but I've got I think 4 of the player issues are signed, and they're all the Richmond jumpers.
Do you prefer that, or do you prefer them to come unsigned?
I don't know, to be honest, because I like clean unsigned jumpers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's not. I do like having them signed as well, because even if they're not worn, the players have touched them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't have any strong feelings on that topic. I know other collectors do. But yeah, I'm not firmly in one camp.
Fair enough. Yeah. While we're on the topic of signatures, now it's not a player issue jumper, but I did notice you have a centenary retail.
I do, yeah.
You seem to be doing the rounds of getting players to sign it. Now, tell me a bit about that.
So I saw it on Facebook Marketplace at the end of last year. It must have been, I think. Wasn't super expensive. I thought $90, which I thought was, for a centenary home jumper, I thought that was pretty reasonable. So I thought, well, I'm going to make a bit of a project out of this, and I'm going to try to get all of the players who played a game that year to sign it. COVID and my uni schedule has unfortunately slowed that down significantly. But yeah, I've been able to catch up with Kane Pettifer, Brett Delidio, and Dan McConnors so far, and I was able to send it over to Kane Johnson as well, get him to sign that. So I've got 4 out of 30-something players, so still a long way to go. But yeah, it's great. Like they've been more than happy to sign it for me, so which I'm really, really appreciative of.
How have you managed to do that?
I've just messaged them on Instagram mostly, is where I've got in contact with most. I've just said, I've come across this jumper, wanting to do this with it. Would you be happy to sign it for me whenever you're free, blah, 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 and just go from there. And yeah, they've been really good about it.
That's really cool. So out of the 36 people that you've messaged, no doubt, have you had most of them come back to you, or are you still waiting on a few?
Yeah, some haven't opened messages, and some I haven't been able to get in contact with at all. But Kane and Daniel both said to me that they're happy to help out where they can, which is great. I've not had to utilise that yet because I haven't had the time. But yeah, they're really down to earth blokes, super generous with their time, even though it's just a few minutes. It's good that they're happy to help out.
Yeah,
help out a fan.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the good side of things that you don't often hear, because obviously, social media won't show that these guys are getting out there and signing something for just a casual fan.
Yeah.
So it's really good for them to do that, and it gives us a great feeling, to catch up with these blokes and just have a quick chat with them, and they've got a fan forever essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Are you planning on framing that one?
Not one where it's like stapled or pinned or whatever, but I was more once it's done, I was more thinking is the Perspex cases where you can hang and like swap Guernseys out. I think that's what I'd like to do eventually.
Yeah,
because I don't really want to ruin the jumper. I've seen some horror images of frame jumpers.
Yeah, I know that too well. Those Perspex frames come real popular, actually.
Yeah, I've seen them a few. I've seen them around a bit.
Definitely.
Bit expensive, but would be worth it for sure because they were classy.
Definitely. Now, you've already kind of covered this, but player issue jumper manufacturers, is Puma your favourite, outright favourite? Yep,
without a doubt.
What would you say is your second?
Oh, no, that's easy actually. I'd have to go CGR. They're a Victorian manufacturer, kind of like Seacom, in that they, up until this year or last year rather, they had the contracts for most of the VFL clubs. The material is just really really nice, good quality, and good build quality on the jumpers as well. Good colours, all the sorts of things that you want in a well-made jumper.
I have seen CGR. They make them as well on request, right? I've seen that a few times as well.
I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've seen those posts and things, but I've never actually held one in my hand, so I would be interested to actually see one in hand. So I might have to get a hold of one day.
Yeah, they don't cost because they don't cost too much really. I mean, you can snag one for $50 sometimes, depending on what the club is.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, what's the most unique jumper you have in your collection?
Ooh, that's a good question.
These are all I have, just good questions.
Yeah. Geez, I'm not sure, to be honest. I feel like there's a couple of unique ones. One of those I reckon would be the 2018 Dion Prestia pre-season. You don't see too many pre-season Puma Tiger jumpers around, so I can thank Events by Vinny for that one. With Prestia's catalogue at the start of this year, it was. That one would be definitely up there.
Is that the one with the tiger on the head, tiger head on the front?
Yeah.
It's still got that really nice, vibrant yellow on the sides.
Yep, that's the one.
Really cool.
Yeah. So that one, I think I'd have to put the Bendigo Gold jumper in that category as well as unique. Yeah, I think those are the two that I'd say that are the most unique.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, what would you value your collection at the moment?
Don't know. Not sure. I did calculate. Must have been at the end of last year how much it was, or how much I'd spent on the jumpers that I bought at the time.
Yep.
I haven't done it since then, and I'm not going to. But it'd be a few thousand, I reckon.
Nice.
For sure.
Yep. I'm guessing a lot of that value comes from the recent Tigers jumpers.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You got a 2021 Anzac, is that right?
Yeah. Hugo Earl Smith, young up-and-coming bloke with a beautiful mullet.
You planning on getting in more 21 jumpers?
Yeah, I've got a Dreamtime one that hopefully won't be too far away, and also an Alana and Madeline Foundation jumper as well.
Very
which
nice.
I'm very keen. I love the AMF design, so I'm really keen for that one especially.
So did you win those on auction?
Yes, I did.
How long ago?
So the Dreamtime, they're all held about this, during when the matches started. The auction started about like the day before the game or something like that. So the Dreamtime was whenever the Indigenous round was, and the Alana and Madeline Foundation jumper was against Brisbane, which I guess would have been a month ago, I suppose, maybe something like that.
So it's a fair time to wait. I've noticed this a bit lately, actually, especially with some of the Collingwood supporters have been, I guess, complaining a little bit that they've had to wait some time for some of their jumpers. West Coast fans had to wait quite a while for some of theirs. It's been 2018. Just a few of the clubs are getting a little bit, I don't want to say it's slack or anything, because I think what it is that when they send it off to get authenticated with AFLPA, it seems to be that once it gets there, it takes forever to come back with the COA. So that's why it's taken such a long time to get out to the fans. What's your thoughts on the wait process? I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't wait more than 2 days after I've won an auction. Like, as soon as I've won, I'll go down there and get it the next day and never have a problem. But we don't do the AFLPA COAs here anymore. So what's your thoughts on AFLPA COAs compared to if the clubs did it themselves and you had your jumper in hand much quicker?
Yeah. Well, so the Richmond auctions, my first Richmond auction was the big one with, it was a massive clear out auction last year. And all of the auctions since then, it's been 6 to 8 weeks post auction. Which, I mean, look, I'm happy to wait because I know it's going to be worth it once the jumper arrives. But I noticed with the recent Carlton auction, I think I saw that the wait time was 2 weeks, which is nothing in comparison. And I was having a chat on Instagram with another Carlton collector. I can't remember who exactly it was now. And they a few years ago, exactly the same as you, they could go into the club the next day, the next week, and pick it up. I mean, I like the look of the AFLPA COAs, but I mean, I would be just as happy with the club one because it's still an organisation authenticating that the product is genuine. So I mean, if that was to slash the wait time even in half, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something I thought about in the last couple of weeks. But for me, 2 weeks is probably the most max amount of reasonable time to wait. I think for something, if you're spending, 1,000 or more on a jumper, you don't want to be sitting there for 2 months waiting for it to rock up just because someone can't sign a piece of paper and get it on. I just don't understand. I get it. COVID probably held some things up, but I mean, it's not like it has been a new thing. Like it's been happening for a few years now where it goes to a particular place and they just sit on it for a while and you just don't see it. So it would frustrate me if I had to wait that long. So kudos to you that you're a much more patient man than I am.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting little topic that's come up recently where I think people are starting to think maybe it's not worth the AFLPA COAs, or if it's just taking that long, and some of them just think, let's just go to club COAs and have it in our hands much, much quicker.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice, but yeah. It's the way it is at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It may very well change. I think a lot of people email in their complaints and things like that, and I guess eventually they get sick of hearing it, and they probably will change. So we'll just see where it goes.
We can hope so.
Do you collect anything other than footy jumpers?
I sort of not quite as intently, but I've got a nice little collection of old vinyl records right here.
Nice, very nice.
Collect the classical music ones because I'm a classical music nut. So, and the beauty about that is they don't cost anywhere near as much as footy jumpers. You can go into the op shop and pick up five or 10 for $10. They only cost $1 or $2 a pop. So it's a very cheap exercise in comparison.
And vinyl's made a huge comeback, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
We stock a lot at JB Hi-Fi as well. Like, there's not a lot of stores that do new vinyls anymore, but I know JB's, we've just started doing pretty much all of our stores are getting vinyls in, and we have a full range as well, which is really cool. And people just go nuts for them. It's not about necessarily playing them. Obviously, some music connoisseurs like yourself will definitely listen to them, but a lot of people will come in, just collect them, leave them in their sleeves, leave them in their packaging, and just that's it. That's all they want to do with them.
Yeah, it's good.
It's essentially the same with the player issue jumpers, I guess. You don't want to wear them, you just display them. So it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
It is really, isn't it?
Is there anything else you collect, or is it just the vinyl records?
Yeah, that's it really. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. What would you say would be the number one collection? Well, okay. What's the number one collection in Australia? No, don't ask that question.
Oh, no, I won't answer that.
What is the number one jumper in your collection?
Oh, jeez, tough question. I knew you'd ask this. You'd ask this question.
I don't know why, because I only ask it every time.
Yeah, I know. And I've been sort of just sitting on it, just thinking, what will I say? And in short, I don't know, because I can't pick a single jumper. There are too many that are special to me.
Yeah.
Much like you said before, there are jumpers that are special to you that to others they just won't hold the same amount of value.
Do you have a top two?
Top two. Let's make it top three.
Okay, I was going to say even top three will do.
We'll make it top three.
Okay.
So one would definitely be the Bendigo Gold jumper for sure. I would also put in, even though the player isn't the most popular with the fans, I'd have to say the 2017 Jason Castagna jumper, purely because it's from that groundbreaking premiership. Yeah, I think the other one that would be most special to me is a jumper that I wore overseas when I went on exchange and played footy in the UK. I think that'd be another one as well. That's a time that I look very fondly upon, especially now that we can't travel overseas. So, and yeah, it was special to be able to play the game I love so far from home. So I think, yeah, I'd place that one in the top three as well.
That's pretty cool. So when you say you went over there on exchange and played footy, was you playing for a local team?
I was the university had a team. I was at the University of Birmingham in the West Midlands in England.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, England has the National Universities League with 4 teams: Birmingham, Cambridge, Oxford, and Wales. And yeah, played for the club there. Got a couple of wins.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a special jumper to me, but to others it wouldn't mean as much. But that's okay.
Being an Aussie, were you expected to just absolutely rip it up?
Yeah, I think I was in a bit. Luckily, there were some other Aussies there. There were 2 other Aussie blokes playing. There were a couple of Aussie girls as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there are a few times that we were asked for our tips on certain skills.
More importantly, did you rip it up?
Not as much as I'd like to, if I'm to be perfectly honest. Not the fittest. And when the first sort of practice run we had at training reminded me, geez, footy's a tough sport to play. Really takes a lot. but I had a hell of a lot of fun. So that's all that matters.
I can imagine, yeah. I've always wanted to go over to the United States and play a few games for clubs over there. It'd be good fun, I reckon. But,
yeah, it is. I
so
reckon.
I'm pretty past it now, I think, but it would be good fun, I reckon.
Yeah.
Did the 4 clubs that were over there, did they have any jumpers of designs from Australian clubs or?
No, not. Ours would be the closest because we were the Birmingham Lions, and the Lions shape. I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same as the Brisbane Lions. So I've posted that jumper on my Instagram page, so go and have a look.
Yeah.
But there's lines below it and there's gradients, so it's not super similar, but that would be the most similar, I think. I have noticed though with from posts from the AFL England and AFL Europe pages that the Giants have sent over some of their player issue jumpers to teams there. Some, I think ISC and maybe some X-Blades ones as well, which is interesting. So we know where some of those jumpers have gone.
Yeah. I know there was a big uproar when the Eagles sent out a bunch of their 2018 jumpers overseas as well.
Really?
Might have been to Africa even. I don't think it was in Europe, but I think it was in Africa. And there was a few grand final jumpers in there, and the collectors were not happy at all.
So. Ooh, yeah. Can't blame them.
No. So
especially the grand final jumpers.
Yeah. So winning grand final jumpers. I mean, they weren't of any players who played on the day, but still, like, player issue grand final jumpers going to a country that they probably don't even know what the grand final is would be pretty upsetting.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's something that's been happening for a long time, actually, with clubs sending their jumpers overseas after they've used them. But, I mean, it's good for them. It sucks for the collectors, but it is good for the community for sure.
Yep.
Now, this is it, James. Last question.
Right.
What jumper don't you have yet that you'd love to get your hands on?
Easy one.
Oh, here we go.
Finally, a question that I know the answer to straight away. Okay, so that would easily be a Bendigo Diggers jumper. Oh. The Diggers were the original Bendigo VFL team. I've never, ever seen one for sale. I've seen one just shown in a comment section. But, that I've never, ever seen one for sale. And that to get one would be fantastic because then I'd have all 3 Bendigo VFL club jumpers, player issue jumpers. So if you know of one around, or if you know a former player that might be willing to let one go, get in contact and I'd love to chat. So
I'm assuming they're not the Bendigo Diggers anymore, or did they just disband or change names, or what was it?
So the Diggers became the Bombers, became the Gold.
Right.
And since the Gold, we've not had any VFL footy here.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm not sure we will ever, or for a while. So yes, they're hard to come by. Just Bendigo VFL jumpers, generally speaking.
So how long ago did the Diggers no longer become Diggers anymore?
Let me have a very quick look. I think it might have been the early 2000s, I think.
Okay, cool. So it's not something crazy like the 70s where you're no chance.
No. So 1998 and 1998 to 2002, they were the Diggers. And then from 2003, they were the Bombers. And then from 2012 to 2014, it was the Gold. There we go.
Okay.
Very succinct, quick history of VFL footy in Bendigo.
Well, I've learned something today, which is good. Always like learning stuff, good. So it's good, yes. So if anyone does have a Bendigo Diggers jumper, make sure you let James know. And James, where can they let you know?
Righto. So main AFL page on Instagram, Earls_footy_jumpers. And my State League account is Earls_State League_collection.
Beautiful. So if you have one of those, make sure you hit him up on Instagram. James, thank you very much for joining me here today. It's been
My
a blast.
pleasure, Earl.
I've had a good time.
Had a great time.
Sorry that's taken a week to get here. My tongue's feeling much better. I don't think I've struggled with the lisp a little bit as much as I would have thought I would, so it's good. It was very painful. So, yeah, apologies for that. And, no, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute blast.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Aaron.
So we'll end this the right way. Go the yellow and black, all right?
Up the Tigers.
Cheers, James.
Thanks, Aaron.
I'm going to let this roll to the yellow and black. I've just got to.
Yeah, do it. Do it. Last time I'll hear it for this season.
Here it is.
Yellow and black.
Love it. All right, awesome. Thank you again, James. Have a great one.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Cheers, mate.
Okay, so there you go. That is our interview with James Earl. Thank you very much to James. As always, all of our guests, we really appreciate you coming on and providing the content for everyone to listen to. Otherwise, it'd be a very boring world. Everyone just listening to me every episode. As a matter of fact, no one would. So we do appreciate everybody who wants to come on the show. And if you would like to join us on the show, please do make sure that you make yourself known to us on the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page, and we'll see when we can get you on. Quick time check here. So I don't know if you remember from the opening, I said that I need to get this up before midnight, and I think it was 11:13 when I started. It is now 11:37, so I have 23 minutes to get this show up and published. So I do keep my promise of having it up today. So we're going to get on with it pretty quickly. Because of our time constraints, we're going to have a little bit of a shorter close today, but don't be worried. As I mentioned in the open, there will be another episode very soon, so we'll cover off a little bit more in that one as well. So we'll just go through really quickly the usual stuff. So what I've seen on eBay, what I've bought in, and what potentially I have coming in. Maybe I may not mention it because I don't really want to jinx it, of course. And then I'm just going to have a little bit of a chat about a special guest we had in the cave here today. Those of you who do follow us on the Facebook page, on the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page, would have seen the special guest that has come into the cave today. But we'll have a little bit of chat about that for those of you who don't follow us. So let's get straight to it, shall we? So what I've seen on eBay, what has gone recently anyways, ended. I've seen a 2018 Joel Selwood Geelong Cats Player Issue jumper. Went for, well, approximately $550. Did have it up for buy now or best offer. I was tempted with that one, but I decided not to. The wedding is pulling at my heartstrings a little bit. It's getting a little bit too close for my liking. And so I've just got to hold the pennies a little bit. I can't just go and spend willy-nilly unless something big comes up. Anyway, one of those Brendan Goddard name round player issue, well, player cut jumpers, which we talked about with Heath O'Donovan last week. That went for $255. I believe it was a size extra large as well. So from what Heath has told me, Brendan wore a large. So that one will definitely be a player cut, not a player issue. There was a Dom Sheed 2017 West Coast Eagles Clash jumper. Went for $355. Good value, I reckon, for a grand final hero from the West Coast Eagles. And then we had a inaugural Gold Coast Suns match-worn Zach Smith with the wave design, which is super cool. Went for $245. Fantastic jumper. I was having a bit on that one, but I thought I'd better leave it to a couple of blokes I reckon might have been going after it, so I left it for them. There was a pair of 1995 Fremantle Dockers Scotty Waters. They probably match-worn. They did have the Inter Gas patch on the shorts, which is very likelihood that they were worn. Very unlikely that they would have not worn them if they had them prepared. So wouldn't have had that many prepared back in those days. Also signed by Scotty Waters. Went for $144. So I think that's good value. Hard with shorts. I wouldn't know really, to be honest. Joel Weston 2021 Clash Freo jumper went for $125. There was a number 26 Brisbane Lions player issue tracksuit top. Really cool. They actually have the 26 on the front. Was really quite cool. I enjoyed seeing that one. Went for $68.75. Pretty cheap. The Essendon Bombers number 41 rare. Well, I read this as rare because this is what it says on the the listings. The Dreamtime Player Issue 2020 jumper, Dreamtime in Darwin. And at the time, I believed it was rare as well. And I've even done a trade for one recently as well. And now, in that week or two since then, I've just seen them everywhere. They're just exploding. So someone can tell me why they're going off as much as they are. But they're all over the place. But what a tremendous design it is. So, someone's, probably as happy as me. I probably trade a little bit too much for the one I've got, but I did want it. It was a really nice design. One of the Boomer Harvey number 427 game jumpers. I love that design. It's really, really cool. Ed Vickers-Willis. It's got the stripes, and in the middle of the stripes is Boomer's 427th game. I'm surprised that these jumpers don't go for a lot more than they do. This one only went for $190. It's such a special, rare occasion jumper and one-off that they really should command a lot more than they actually do. I don't know if it's because every now and then they do come up for sale, but I mean, in a few years' time, there's not going to be any of these floating around. So if you can get on them cheap now is the time. They're definitely going to hold value or definitely increase in value in the future. There was a long sleeve 2017 Joel Hamling Clash jumper, $102.50. Freo long sleeve jumpers usually go quite well, so $102 was very cheap, especially if Joel Hamling is a really good dude. We'll see him back on the park next year. One of these replica, quotation marks here, replica, basically a fake. North Melbourne Kangaroos orange jumper. Anthony Stevens went for $182.50. So it's just a fake retail, essentially, with a sublimated number 10 on it. But people like them because it's the closest they're ever going to get to an actual player issue orange, I guess. $182 for a fake jumper is, whatever. I wouldn't pay that much, but those obviously people that do want to wear them will do so. Just another crazy eBay auction to watch. For all the wrong reasons, of course. GWS player issue Taylor Adams jumper, 2013 jumper, went for $610. Did not get paid for, of course. There was a couple of bidders on there who were never going to bid, never going to actually pay for it. So, it just continues the rut for eBay, unfortunately. Nick Rewalt 2008 player issue jumper went for $610. I had one of those, and I think I sold it for about $150, so I'm annoyed. Long time ago, and times have changed, as we all know. A Connor Blakely Starlight 2018 jumper went for $80. A 2021 Freo Dockers player issue Indigenous jumper, the home design, Heath Chapman, went for $179.95, which for a first-year player, and he looked pretty good, and especially that design as well. I think that's a pretty cheap deal. Sam Sturt 2021 Clash player issue, which has also been signed by Sam on the front and back, went for $130. And the last one today was a Fremantle Dockers Training Worn 2021 Clash. Tail and Demand went for $60. So that's it for the last, how long has it been? It's been probably 3 or 4 weeks since the last episode. So not a huge amount has gone on eBay. I think eBay's starting to slow down because people are starting to see and realize that the manipulation and just people not buying or not actually paying and just playing stupid games on eBay is just getting out of control. So it's hard to actually want to be a part of it. So there is a couple of jumpers I'll mention that are actually on eBay right now before we continue on. So there's a player issue 20th anniversary Brisbane Lions jumper, which of course on the back has the Premiership Cup down the bottom, and it forms a part of a bit of a package. So 2001, 2002, 2003. So next year and the year after, we'll continue that design on the back where it'll actually merge up and eventually create the entire team photo in the MCG, which will be really cool if you get all three of them together. This one went for, it's currently up, It's currently up for $450. It's number 4. There's a Carlton 1999 long sleeve Justin Murphy Grand Final jumper. Currently up for $1,300 or best offer. It's actually really not a bad price. Cracking jumper, and he was a decent player too. There's a Adam Chera. So Adam Chera obviously just decided to leave Freo this week. No words, but we'll move on from what I think about it. It's an Indigenous 2021 home jumper, and it's currently at $170.50. Will be very interesting to see how that goes with 3 days left. Another one of these 427 jumpers is up, and it's currently $150.80. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's the same jumper. Potentially, another one that is actually the same jumper as I've just mentioned is sold, is up again, and it's the Essendon name game player issue Brendan Goddard jumper, which is, again, the extra large, so very potentially is just being resold, or same problem we've had on eBay recently where it just doesn't get paid for. With a day and 18 hours to go, it's up for $182.50 at the moment. And the last one I'm going to mention is a huge one. Huge in dollars and huge overall, I suppose. Richmond Tigers, 2020 Grand Final match worn and signed Shea Bolton Guernsey. So it's currently up for $25,000. So if you've got a lazy $25,000 just sitting around, you'll be fine. But it does have a best offer, so don't get too perturbed about that. But see how you go if you want to throw in an offer for it. Obviously, the third of those premierships for the Richmond Tigers, and potentially after this year, could be the last for some time. You never know. They could very well bounce back next year and back in the premiership race again. But this could be it. So obviously, it is a beautiful jumper. I really do like those Puma jumpers. I'm not going to lie. It is gorgeous. And the different AFL Grand Final logo they used, I don't know if it was to stop the counterfeiters. I'm not too sure. It didn't work because I've seen quite a few of those patches up for sale as well. But it's kind of cool. It's like a rubber patch. So, yeah, super cool. Anyway, have a look at that on there. It is match worn, it is boxed, and it does have a COA as well. If you've got a bit of cash to throw at him, go for it. And you never know. You could get yourself a really good Grand Final Richmond Tigers jumper, which will not come up all that often. I can guarantee you that. Now we'll quickly go through what I picked up over the last few weeks. As I mentioned, I got the 2014 Brendan Goddard player cut, which is correct to size, as Heath has told me. If that is wrong, so be it. You can tell me or not. I don't really care. It's player cut, whatever. It's a very unlikely player issue, but I like it anyway. It's really cool. It's exactly the same as player issue, so I really do like it. I also picked up a 2021 Hayden Young Fremantle Dockers player issue Indigenous home jumper. I've got a few of those Indigenous home jumpers now, but there's no way I was passing up a Hayden Young because he looks like he's going to have a very bright future. Very good raking left foot. He takes on the game quite a lot. Good defender, very good mark, and his kicking skills are fantastic. Exactly what we need. Takes risks through the middle of the ground. Obviously, it doesn't pay off every time, but that's what you want. You want the confidence from the young players. So I'm really stoked to pick up his jumper, and I look forward to the rest of his career. Also got one of the 2020 Jack Watts player issue silver Port Adelaide jumpers. Now, a lot of the Port Adelaide fans or collectors have been calling these particular jumpers prototypes because they didn't get worn. They potentially may never have been considered to be worn. However, I wouldn't call it a prototype. I would simply just call it a jumper that was made as a player issue jumper, perhaps intended to be worn. And from what I could tell, they probably just decided not to go with the jumper. Had GFG on the back twice. It's very similar to what Freo does when they have got the front, same sponsor at the top and the bottom of the back of a jumper. These sponsors, however, are switched around. So on the jumpers they did wear with the silver jumpers, the MG was on the back and GFG was on the front. So it could potentially have been sample. It could have been a mistake. But the fact that they made the entire squad's worth of these particular jumpers, I don't think they were actually a mistake or a prototype or a sample. I think they intended to wear them. Perhaps, with the craziness of 2020, it just didn't happen. Very much like some other teams who did make some jumpers to wear last year, and it just never happened. So I think it's potentially what could have happened. It's not that uncommon that teams, especially Port Adelaide, will actually wear different sponsored combinations throughout the year. Most of the time they heat press them on because they change throughout the year, but these ones were all sublimated, which for me, I think that's what sets these particular jumpers apart. I think it looks fantastic. And of course, I just love the ISC jumpers, so I think they look absolutely brilliant. And maybe it's a little bit disappointing they didn't wear them, but it honestly doesn't bother me. I think I picked it up for a really good price. I think it was maybe $100 bucks, and really happy with that because I really like that design. I I picked up a 2021 match-worn Fremantle Dockers Travis Collier. Also did a trade for my 49th David Mundy jumper. That's a home 2021 player issue. I did give up a Bob Murphy for that one, so a little bit disappointing to give up such a big jumper. A 2008 Bob Murphy. This is probably the first chance that Aiden Johnson's hearing about it, and I apologise to you, Aiden. I know I was going to give it to you the whole time, but it was definitely hard to give up such a good jumper in the Bob Murphy. It was my last Bob. Don't have any more Bobs, but of course it's even harder to pass up a 350 gamer, just a legend, David Mundy. So yeah, had to do that trade. I am happy I did so, and I do have some more jumpers on the horizon. I'm hoping. Not guaranteed as of yet, but we'll see what happens. I also bought off Alex Emery a 2007 Garrick Ibbotson Heritage Freo Dockers jumper. So if you don't remember, it was the East Fremantle style of the Heritage jumper, the blue and white stripes. Played against the Sydney Swans. They're just really cool. And Garrick Ibbotson was a great player for a long time at Freo. Probably didn't get anything he deserved, any credit that he deserved. And then, unbelievably, a jumper that I've been trying to get a hold of for a long time and just could never find them. I know where two of them are, and these blokes would just not give them up at all. This jumper popped up out of absolutely nowhere on eBay. He had it starting real low bidding. I threw an offer at him as high as I would have gone higher probably, more than likely, because I just cannot find this jumper anywhere. And got it, thankfully. He accepted my offer and I went and picked it up that night after the Western Derby, which was a fantastic day. Obviously, the spirits were very high, so I was more than happy to go pick it up. It's a 2005 Fremantle Dockers Clash jumper, so Bank West on the front and back in blue and the white jumper all over. So it's really, really hard to find for some reason. Andrew Brown, so nobody special. But it's just a design that I really need, and it's one of the ones that I need to tick off. So I'm down to 12 jumpers now that I need to complete the collection. So I'm almost there. I was stoked to finally find that one and pick that up. Also picked up another couple of Clash Indigenous Fremantle jumpers from this season as well. Very lucky. As I talked about with James in the interview, I picked up a 2021 Andrew Brayshaw match worn and signed and ripped on the front, and 2021 Alex Pearce match worn and signed as well. So, yeah, stoked with those two. And the last one that I picked up was a 2021 Connor Blakely match-worn Peel Thunder Night Hawk jumper. I was actually bidding on Hayden Young's, looking like I was going to win it, and I was really stoked. And the last minute happened, and then someone bid an absolute insane amount. And I don't actually believe that's a legitimate bid, and I don't think Peel does either. So they're going to let me know if it doesn't actually go through. So that was Hayden Young's jumper, and he had a pretty good day as well. So I'd be stoked to pick that one up. This design is absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've picked up. So like I said, I did have a couple on the line that I'm going to hold out on. I won't let you know what they are because I don't want to jinx it. But keep an eye on the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page. If it does happen, you will be the first to know. I'll put it up there first. I'm really excited at the potential of these two jumpers. Just fingers crossed that I can pick these up. So that's it. That's all I've picked up in the last few weeks. I'd like to say that's a bit slow, but that's still a fair few jumpers in a few weeks. Definitely can't complain with that. So before we get out of here today, you might have seen on the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page the cave, the man cave, or the studio, had a visitor earlier this morning. Sam Switkowski of the Fremantle Dockers, absolute champion. I love the bloke. He's a great player, and every time he gets the ball, he does something good with it. And I turn to M every time he does, and I say, you got to love him, because you do. He's just an absolutely lovable bloke, and he's a champion, and he's just a great footballer. And I really hope he can stay healthy. I don't know if you watched the last game of the season against, a lot of Fremantle fans probably turned it off before he got injured, but he copped a seriously nasty injury to his hip, and no one actually knew what was going on or what happened to him because he could not walk at all. He just collapsed. And he came off and he couldn't even sit down. He just looked in absolute agony. Well, I spoke to him about it today, and it turns out he tore his oblique off his hip. So that sounds incredibly painful, and he said that he only just started walking yesterday. So, yeah, it was not a good injury at all. So he came around for a little bit of his visit today, checked out the man cave, stayed for a little bit, signed all 7 of his jumpers that I have in the cave. So that was really cool. Now all of my Sam Switkowski jumpers are all signed on the number, because he did ask where I'd like them signed, and I always pick the number. Yeah, really good bloke, just really nice, good dude, and really enjoyed having him here. Did get a photo with him, so you can see that on the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page. And yeah, so he was actually here to pick up a PS5, and Joel Hamling actually gave him my phone number, so he told him to give me a message. So that was rather cool. Yeah, so that's it. That's my exciting story for the week. Let's see if we can get some more players through the man cave. Em suggested we get him to sign the door or something. That'd be pretty cool, but yeah, won't hold out my hopes on that one. Anyway, make sure you're listening for the next episode, which will be next week, with Craig Evans, The Voice, Part 3. But in the meantime, have a great day, have a great evening, enjoy the episode, and hopefully your collecting goes really well for the next week. Have a good one. Goodbye and good night.